Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Nymphadora.
And I am unknown. I don't know.
And this week we are discussing the 2014 Christmas special, Last Christmas by Stephen Moffat. I may have said in the past something to the effect of the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe being the moment that Christmas specials jumped the shark. I take that back. It's this fucking episode. What the fuck happened here?
I would
this
slightly
episode is
dispute
just-
that.
This episode is on some shit.
It's like I know this is supposed to be about dreams and shit, but this is all over the place, man.
Yeah.
Like it feels like Moffat was going, "Oh my god, I'm so fucking smart. I'm so cool. I'm so smart" when he was writing this.
Yeah.
it's
I think-
it's
Go ahead.
it tries too hard to be like weird and edgy about it. Like, okay, just logically it makes no sense because sort of like the conceit of the premise is like the mind crabs send you into like your paradise dream world, but that law is just kind of like by the very premise of the episode violated because the whole thing is it's like a series of dreams within
Layers,
dreams
yeah.
where they're not doing that, and it was only the very lowest layer where somebody was actually living in their dream world. So shrug.
And Santa Claus is badly shoehorned in because it's a Christmas episode. If this was a normal fucking episode, it wouldn't, like, Santa Claus would not be there.
Yeah, at all. And it's just like so tonally weird, and it tries to get away
Yep.
with it because it's a dream, but it just doesn't work.
I think there are two levels on which this premise fails. First of all, the episode keeps trying to up itself with like the holidayness of it and the dream nature of everything. And it's just like if you pulled back by like 20 to 30%, I think that would have been just fine. And also the fact that, and we'll get into this more, I'm sure, but the fact that they basically changed their minds about Clara being a companion going forward.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. We had another really good Clara exit, and they just kind of self-sabotaged themselves because they went, nah.
But yeah, it's like I'm not as huge on the Moffat Doctor Who is a fairy tale boner that our host is on, but I can appreciate it when done well, and I think this almost gets it, but then it just like keeps, I don't know if the term is self-congratulating itself, but it keeps like upping like, hey, we're in the magical pastiche of Christmas, and it keeps doing that, and not in a charming way like Voyage of the Damned. I feel like that's the last Christmas special that like knew how to throw the kitchen sink, but in like a fun way where it was in on the joke.
No. Well, see, that's the opposite. It's the opposite thing. Voyage of the Damned is absurdly, gleefully stupid and aware about it, whereas this is Rick and Morty fan level of jacking off over how smart you are.
Okay, you just said Rick and Morty, and like immediately it clicked in my head that this is literally just a Rick and Morty episode.
Yeah, yes it is.
Like, this is a fucking Rick and Morty premise, Rick and Morty plot, near Rick and Morty character writing. Honestly, if you took out like the side characters and replaced them with like pastiche Rick and Morty like meat fodder.
Clara, it's the dream crabs. Clara, Clara. Clara. Oh, jeez, Doctor.
Oh jeez, Doctor, don't talk bad about Danny. Oh god.
I hate you too.
Come on, Clara. You got to think about your dead boyfriend, Clara. Aren't you fucking pissed off about it? Oh, Oh, jeez, Rick, what was that for? Oh, you don't get it, Morty. I just had to snap you out of thinking about the fucking mine crabs. Oh.
Ah. Yeah, it's just like I had to watch this spread out over like 2 days because I couldn't handle more than like 10 to 15 minutes of it at a time. It was just like fucking chill out, dude.
That is understandable.
It's like, and it's like the same thing as like I don't know if you guys know about this or would be hip to this, but are you guys familiar with the Matrix sequels?
Oh yes.
I haven't seen them.
Okay, so there's a bit at the end of the second sequel because it's one of those cases where like the first one was clearly shot as like a standalone, but the two sequels were shot like back to back and are much more clearly connected, kind of like a Back to the Future, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And at the end of the second movie, there's a scene where like in the real world, Neo and the crew of whatever the fuck the ship is called are getting attacked by like the fucking like jellyfish looking machine thingies, and Neo is able to use like his crazy Matrix God powers in the real world. And everybody, from what I understand, when that came out, everybody thought that like, oh my god, it's just they're in just another layer of the Matrix, and they didn't do that because that's actually fucking stupid. And having Neo just be Tech Jesus is less stupid than it's just another layer of the Matrix. And that's the thing that I think this misses.
Here's
It misses the fact that when you pile up levels of like, oh, nope, you're not out yet, it just gets stupid.
I don't
And
know.
I think,
Go ahead.
like, yeah, there's just so, because like this is not a 45-minute plot by virtue of the
Yeah,
fact that
it
it's a
feels
Rick and
like
Morty episode, and thus could have been done in 25 minutes and felt a lot better. But it just ends up like, I noticed, like particularly in like the lowest stream scene, like trying to break Clara out. There was a point at which I realized like, this scene has been going on for like 8 minutes and it's not over, and
Yeah.
it keeps going, and I'm like,
Yep.
what is this adding? Because we've literally just had like 3 minutes of the Doctor, Clara, and Danny going back and forth, and just progressing nowhere, just saying the same things in a circle over and over again.
Here
And that's like the whole episode.
here is where I don't know if this deserves a like going scene by scene. I don't think it does, but the
No.
thing
What scenes? Everything mushes together and is too long.
exactly. So I'll just say my central problem right here. The core narrative is very generic. In the group chat, I think Geoff, you mentioned it as doing the like Inception thing. Like this culturally, this is not groundbreaking.
Yeah, no, I literally made the Rick and Morty comparison, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
that too. But
Yeah.
but the thing that could have saved this for me is I think the heart of this story potentially is the whole idea, the thematic idea of Last Christmas, of Clara coming to terms with her grief of Danny and exploring that, how you lie to others for your grief, like Clara to 12 to the Doctor, and the Doctor likewise.
Basically, for it to be an actual fucking character piece instead of a wacky Christmas
No, yeah,
special with Nick Frost in it for some reason.
exactly. And you know what? I could have even accepted that if it weren't for the fact that this whole theme of like Last Christmas, of you better treat everything like it's, you should always cherish the moment, basically live in the moment with your
Memento
loved
mori.
ones, something like that. At the very end, the story just decides to not follow its own theme. The Doctor and Clara do not learn their lesson because there's
Yep.
a beautiful sort of like mirror moment. George Lucas, it's like a poetry.
It's like poetry. it
Yeah,
rhymes.
there's a moment where 12 helps Clara, older Clara, with the Christmas cracker, like she did at the very end of like Matt Smith's tenure, and that's a beautiful moment. And then fucking I forget the actor's name. It's not his fault that this is such like a weird mediocre part. Like the Santa character comes in and is just like, "Waha! What if you could get a second chance? Wahoo!" And then like, and then it happens.
Yeah. I don't hate Nick Frost. He's really great, especially in like every single Edgar Wright movie that he's in. But like, and he does the best with what he's given, but he shouldn't be here.
No, yeah, and like this could even be if I felt the writing was self-aware enough for like the ending scene to feel like sort of like wrong in a twisted way, like they were gonna keep going, but they knew it was the wrong thing. But no, the episode, the music swelling, the acting, which, you know, credit to Capaldi and Jenna Louise Coleman, of course, like they're not acting this incorrectly. It's just such a weird beat considering everything that this episode is trying to say of substance, what little substance there is, in like the 40 minutes before this.
Yeah, it's like I never hated Clara as much as people did, but rewatching through this, I'm like week to week, I'm really starting to get a feel of like, oh, actually this is really fucking stupid because we've now had 2 separate occasions where the character was clearly supposed to be written off and they ended up having to go back on it. And like, I don't fault them for doing it because it did eventually lead us to like, we would not have gotten Heaven Sent otherwise. But it's like, yeah, no, literally it's like, not to mention like, even before we get to old Clara, like on the subject of like the runtime and like how it's like basically a 25-minute plot stretched out, even with it stretched out, it feels like there is a clear part of the episode where it hits 45 and feels like it's wrapping up. And then Moffat goes, oh shit, this needs to be an hour long. There's like 3 more layers.
Yeah. And I'm going to give some rare praise to Series 2 of the revival, because from memory we were very harsh on Rose as a character, and correctly so, but I remember there being this feeling of like, oh, I can't wait to get to 12 and Clara, because Clara is Rose done right. And while I think her conclusion, like, that's true, looking back, it's like at least they knew, with the exception of Journey's End, they knew when to cut it off. You know what I mean? This is
no. Like Clara and 12's in terms of relationship dynamic in places is, I think, done better than 10 and Rose. But Clara as a character is like, if Doomsday happened as is, and then the start of the next season, he just shows up and picks her up again, and they just go on like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, and then even at this fucking ending, that I would bet this would be part of the rewrite, because it doesn't make any fucking sense otherwise, is that when Clara and 12 are like going down into the TARDIS, there's like a neat like camera shot from the window of her house or apartment or whatever. I don't know how the fuck she affords to live in this place with a teacher salary, but whatever. We're well past that at this point. It like pans down and there's a tangerine, and I'm like, is Santa fucking real or not? Are you just gonna like troll us? Is this your idea of a cock tease, Moffat? Because it's not working. I'm not turned on. I'm pissed off. Anyways.
Yeah. This episode feels like a fever dream, and I have a feeling if I said that to Stephen Moffat's face, he'd be like, oh, well, now that's intentional. And I'd be like, yeah, you know what else is intentional? Me lodging my purple Converse Chuck Taylors up your fucking ass. Shit
God.
episode.
It's just okay, and like the thing is, the sequencing is so confusing around like the last stream where Clara is old, because like the Doctor wakes up on the volcano, ? Why is he there? And then
why is he at the volcano from fucking Death in Heaven? That doesn't even like, I guess they just reused a set?
Yeah, and then he goes to Clara, and then when he wakes up from that, he's at the volcano again. Did they have him dream waking up at the place he actually was? And then what was the whole point with old Clara? Was it just to make him feel bad? And also, why were all of the other people not in an extra layer of dream? Were they all fake too?
Yeah, are they just all dead? Did they just ignore the fact that, like, okay, they're just dead now, I guess, because
Well,
there
no,
was
because
another layer and we don't see them get
wake
out of
up.
it?
We saw them wake up, but just like,
But how do we know that was actually it? Because then there's another layer.
yeah, so it's just confusing.
You're giving this
And
way
as
too
it-
much thought. It's not
No,
worth it.
But like, okay, I can forgive
Giving things way too much thought is the purpose of this show.
I'm
Plus,
sorry.
like,
It's my first
we
time.
don't, if it's shit like that doesn't affect the plot, then that's one thing. But this literally like actively undermines the like comprehension of the plot, because I literally could not follow the last like 5 minutes of the episode because of this.
Yeah. And like it's like God, I'm so completely discombobulated by this. Holy shit.
What I'm pissed off.
It's also like the dream crabs are just, they make very little sense and they just appear and aren't really explained, which normally I go, okay, monster plot doesn't have to be that well thought out or major a thing if there's something else to back it up. But there isn't, because all the character stuff that could be there, as has been mentioned, fucking shoots itself in the groin. It by the fact that they clearly like they didn't like, they changed the ending, but not by like rewriting the script. They just tacked an extra like 5 minutes on.
I have to believe that last scene is like a reshoot and they just tacked it on different from everything else. I mean, probably not, because they were still able to get Frost to do the Santa thing, so it probably wasn't like super last minute, but it's still, yeah, it doesn't follow the themes of the episode. And if it's supposed to subvert them in like a way where we as the audience are supposed to know that this is going to fuck up terribly for them, then the episode does a bad job of communicating that too. And the sad part is that if this were just a Christmas episode that I could like turn my brain off for a little bit and just have another sci-fi episode that sort of generically explains why Christmas / the holidays are like an important respite from the ever-churning machine of capitalism and spending time with your family, like, okay, cool. But no, everything is so generic and self-contradictory that it, I don't know. It's just, I tried to turn my brain off for it, and that didn't work either. I watched this episode twice, by the way. This type of commitment I give this shit. But
You're truly bringing the Morbius spirit to the podcast.
Yeah, it's like, I know like the New Year's specials haven't been the hottest thing, and from a like ratings perspective, losing the slot that they had for Christmas specials does kind of suck, because that was a very lucrative slot that got them a shit ton of ratings, because British TV on Christmas is a fucking wasteland. But at the same time, I kind of have to play devil's advocate here for the production team and be like, you watch this shit and tell me that they should have just kept making Christmas specials. Like, if they're going to go back to Christmas specials for the RTD era, I don't know, maybe RTD has some more in the tank because he's RTD and he can do something interesting with it. But like, I feel like the best way to go forward is to have this air on Christmas and just like, aside from it being set at winter, just not actually deal with Christmas, which is I think the route that the remaining two Moffat Christmas specials went, which I think is a good route, because at this point, like, the absurd reaches that this thing makes,
I don't know if
are just, what the fuck?
I don't know if Aurora made this point last episode, but I'll say it here. it's kind of sad that Danny and Clara's best scene are after he's dead, and it's like a dream projection of him, because that one scene about him talking to her about grief and moving on and Last Christmas,
That
that's
fucking
the best
scene was
scene.
stupid, though. That scene was so stupid because, like, this whole thing, the only reason we are in this situation is because Danny was like, lol, I feel guilty, have this kid that never shows up again.
Okay,
It's like the only reason we're here is because of a weird-ass decision that doesn't even make sense. And the fact that they don't even talk about the kid here as like, Clara, you gotta keep going for him, the fact that they don't even do that is just like, what the fuck?
Plus, like, yeah, the scene just goes on way too long.
Yeah.
I was fine with it practically because I was clinging to any hope that this episode would try to say something that I'm like, well, the pacing on this is fucked, but like at least it's trying. But yeah, I more meant like in the vacuum of this episode, like that scene was good. Obviously in the whole like end of their relationship arc, it's very fucked. But yeah, and like I don't know, the episode tries to do a few interesting things after that of like how to tell if you're in a dream with like the manuals and
Yeah, that's peak Moffat being like, ooh, I'm so clever.
yeah, like there's it's competent, it's barely competent at this type of genre thing, because the fact is that basically every problem that the characters encounter in this narrative is solved by them realizing that it's a dream and they have the power within them like the whole time. Basically, it's just like rephrasing that idea through different metrics of grief and through the imagination of Christmas, and this theoretically could go well, except it's not because the pacing is borked. And
Yeah,
I don't know, it's
like before I sat down to record this here podcast, I was watching the bonus documentary included on the bonus features of The Phantom Menace. And there's a bit in the bonus features for those where they're all sitting in the editing suite. And George is talking about the fact that he realized at this point that he's basically constructed this climax that's happening in four or five completely separate locations at once, because you have the Darth Maul fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. You have like the space battle that Anakin's doing. You have the fight back to the throne room that the fight back to the throne room that Padme's leading, and I think there's like one more.
the gun
like
fight.
A point... Oh yeah, the gun fight. Yeah, the CGI fuck pit. Yeah. And there's a bit where they're sitting in the editing suite and George is like, oh God, I think I gone a little bit too far here and I can't undo this without like messing it up, because if he takes one piece out, everything else falls apart. And if I had a time machine, I'd travel back to 1998, 99 or whenever and be like, don't worry, George. Stephen Moffat proved that you can get away with way fucking worse.
That's actually the most interesting part of the movie to me, is because for having 4 climaxes going on at once, it's remarkably well paced. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Phantom Menace is good, actually. New podcast idea.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It is actually.
I wouldn't go.
I just watched it. Aside from the racism, it's pretty good.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far, but live your best life, okay?
And so the pendulum
At
swings
least it's
again, and
more
Gen Z realizes, hey, we were actually right when we were 10. This shit fucks. The millennials lied to us.
Here's the thing. It's not like art or anything, but it's fucking entertaining. It's more entertaining than this. And it like half the dialogue from it has been made a meme because of Reddit, so it's like super quotable.
You know what's sad? This is like I think this is one of the this episode has like some of the most like concentrated like 12 is autistic moments.
Yeah.
And it's just but I don't remember that because all I'm thinking about is like the slog through like the dreams sequence and the
Yeah.
fact that like aside from Shona, I think the obviously not a scientist like every other
The person that was supposed to be the next companion,
I could have
like
seen that.
actually,
12 and women who won't
um,
take his shit.
yeah. It like um it yeah, like it has the like an all-time classic 12 line, which is the you guys made a horror movie named Alien. Wow, that's really offensive. No wonder you guys keep getting invaded.
That was so good.
That's an all-time classic and it's stuck in this piece of shit.
I do appreciate that they realized that these dream crabs were close enough to the face huggers that they would lampshade that by referencing Alien, but they didn't recognize
Yeah.
it enough to fucking change the design.
There's nothing wrong with a good face hugger. I mean, Valve ripped off face huggers for head crabs and everybody fucking loves those.
Yeah. Also, what do we think of the like it's a long story meme? As I was like, that's kind of cute.
I don't even. I was at that point. I was just like, okay. As I said, that felt like an. As I keep saying, that felt like another moment of Moffat going like, "Ooh, ooh, I'm so smart. I'm so cool. Look at me, everyone." It's like he's doing a bit that he's already done so many times in better episodes that it just doesn't work on me anymore.
Yeah. I remember or I have memories of like Clara at this point is like treating 12 sort of how like really like young like series 5 Amy treated 11 where she's
Yeah.
just like I've always believed in Santa Claus. He just looks a little bit different to me and I'm just like you
I died. That's so fucking
like
cringe. Shut the fuck up,
like I could see you
Moffat.
earning that. You have the history to maybe say that, but not
That
in
would
this
be that
episode.
would be kind of bad, even coming from Amy. And Amy at least sort of works with that. Jesus.
Just like I've always believed in
Yeah, and
Santa
it.
Claus. Meanwhile, flashback to series 7B where she's roasting 11 for trying to get her into the snog box. Like, "Oh yeah, dude. You've totally loved this dude.
Yeah.
It's always been a fairy tale."
Yeah. It's just. Man, this came out the same year. It's honestly a real achievement that the rest of Series 8 is as good as it is, because this season came out the same year as the Sherlock finale, one of the worst fucking episodes of television ever. You guys hear about that fucking the thing that happened on Tumblr where people were fucking convinced that John Locke was gonna happen, and then when it didn't, not only did it not, the final episode was fucking trash. They were all like, "No, guys, no, it's all an ARG. There's a secret." Fourth episode that's an actually good finale where John Locke is real that they're hiding from us, and it's gonna come out any time now, guys.
Give us the Moffat cut.
I like how we have as it says
No, we got the Moffat cut. The Moffat cut was a pile of shit.
I like how we as
That episode was so bad that I watched that, and even back when I was like 13 and had shit taste, I was like, wow, that sucked.
as a society, it's good that we've progressed to the point where instead of like making excuses for why Benedict Cumberbatch occasionally fails upward, we're just like, yeah, Doctor Strange 2 was pretty bad. Like,
You know what's funny is basically the same thing ended up happening with Supernatural too. The Who Chads keep winning.
Oh yeah, this show's always sucked. Get in
Doctor
line,
Who
losers.
is truly the One Piece of Super Who Lock Tumblr.
Wait, what are the others then?
Well, okay. Sherlock is Bleach and Supernatural is Naruto.
Nice.
Supernatural has a spin-off show they're now pitching, which, considering how the new CEO of Warner Brothers is like canceling everything, I bet that's gonna go over great.
Yeah, speaking of which, I know nobody from Warner Brothers listens to this podcast. Hey, fuckers. Renew Our Flag Means Death for season 2. There's no way that didn't cost you like no money and made you a shit ton of money. So don't be a fucking bitch. I want to see more gay pirates.
Don't we all?
All right, we can go back to the podcast. I just needed to get that out of the way while we were on the air.
It's an important message. Speak to the people. This episode happened.
Yeah.
And then it stopped happening.
You know what's more interesting than this episode? What the fuck do you think is going on with 10 being back? What the hell are they doing?
Principally, I'm against talking about leaks, but considering how...
Wait, you missed the fact that 10's back?
How
What?
huge...
Yeah, no, David Tennant and Catherine Tate are back for the 60th.
Okay.
We've been talking about it on the server all week long and posting like production photos and shit.
I don't check
and
the
they
server.
Casted, yeah, and they casted a trans femme actress as someone who we're pretty sure is Donna's daughter, named Rose.
Huh.
And like the set photos that we've seen, like 10 has a completely different sonic screwdriver and coat and is using like Jodie's TARDIS exterior.
Odd.
So we're like, everyone's like, what the fuck is going on here? And every single press release with Shooty has not actually mentioned the words 14th Doctor. They just said the next Doctor.
Odd.
Yeah. We're like, what the fuck are they doing?
I know...
What the dog doing?
I know the caretaker said, like, you'll revisit some faces. It would be very funny to me if the first, like, canonical version of that is the most narcissistic, self-absorbed Doctor.
Oh, come on. It was always going to be 10. It was never going to be 4. It was always going to be fucking 10.
From a realistic, like, marketable point of view, like, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, in universe, it's just like, you know that personality wants to keep doing their shit. So either they do some real OOC shit, either this character looks like 10, but actually has a different personality, which would admittedly be interesting. But they probably wouldn't do that because everybody fucking loves 10's shtick. Or 3, he gets fucking murked, and it's not his decision to change into Shooty-Gatwa.
Yeah. So, and I have to say, even though I haven't liked the recent era, I have complained about certain ways that publicity and expanded universe stuff was handled during it. At this point, it's actually wrapped back around to being funny again. That even at the very fucking end of her tenure, Jodie Whittaker is once again overshadowed by the 10th Doctor. It's just funny at this point, honestly.
Yeah, we know more about the next episode after hers than we do about her final episode.
And I care more about the next episode after it than her last episode. I don't give a fucking shit.
Wow.
So, what? I'm just like listening to all this stupefied. I have nothing to say. I'm just like, this is a bizarre decision, but okay.
There is a
I mean, we don't know for sure that Jodie. We do not know for sure that Jodie is going to regenerate into 10. However, all signs right now seem to point to that potentially being the case, unless the stuff that they're shooting is just an episode next year and isn't the first thing to air or something.
It's probably didn't Jodie say that she's always like her thing was like she wanted to do the show with Chris, and if he leaves, then she leave, which like valid. Would have liked to see her under some other
but
writing.
It's also fucking disappointing that we don't get to see her with good writing.
I mean, I bet she'll be back for a multi thing eventually, even if it's like not this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like how we've just drifted off into like more news.
Yeah, who the fuck cares about fucking last who the fuck cares about Last Christmas? This is way more interesting.
That's true.
So when is Shotty Gatwa gonna be around?
We don't know. He said like 2023, but that could be the whole year, and we're not sure because what they were shooting, like Christmas lights and shit were up, but he said 2023, which it's really early to be filming for Christmas 2023 unless it's a case of people's schedules are busy and now is when they can do it. So, like, is this supposed to be a New Year's? Is there going to be a surprise? Actually, we're doing Christmas 2022? Psych.
Well, if it's for the 60th, then couldn't it just be like 10 showing up to hang around?
That's true, but if that's the case, why is it Jodie's TARDIS exterior a completely new coat, a completely new sonic screwdriver, and just as far as we can tell, with the stuff that they've shot, it's possible that there might be other episodes focusing on different characters or different Doctor companion pairings. But with what they've shot, just him and Donna and Donna's family. By the way, Bernard Cribbins is back. I don't know how much he's going to be back because he's like 93, and all pictures of him on set were in like a wheelchair. But he was seen on set.
I wonder when. I mean, there's probably other projects involving him because it's David Tennant, but like Good Omens season 2.
That's supposedly, I think, done.
Done filming? Okay, so yeah, it could honestly be anything at this point.
Yeah.
Because even for filming like for a Christmas episode this year, like that's pretty far ahead.
Nah, that's actually, this is about, they usually, from what I remember, they usually in terms of when they do filming blocks, they would film their Christmas episode in like mid-year. That's normal.
So wait, like aren't there supposed to be specials coming out this year?
There is one special for Jodie left.
Wait, the specials already happened?
So there
two have already aired. Yeah.
Oh,
there was one that was there was one that was on New Year's that was all right. It was perfectly fine. And then I didn't watch the most recent one on Easter because everyone said it was a piece of shit.
Yeah, I literally did not know that they came out. Okay. So, do we have any idea when the next season is coming out? Is it coming out before or after the 60th?
We don't know.
Fun.
We don't know. All he said is 2023.
Okay.
Yeah. We're all like, what? And see, this is the thing, is there are 13 stans on Twitter. And, you know, again, if you're a 13 stan, I feel sorry for you that this is the era that you had to stan. I'm sorry. But there are 13 stans on Twitter being like, this sucks that they're doing all of this. They're taking attention away from, like, the Jodie's last episode. And I'm like, what, the episode that they're not fucking promoting at all, aside from doing like a big trailer that had all of the reveals in it at once, that's like Daleks, Cybermen, Unit, Tegan and Ace are back, woo. And it's like, yeah, it's like, yes, you're right, but also that's not the new production team's fault. That's the old production team for not promoting it. The new production team had to do their announcements because they're shooting on open sets. So if they didn't make an announcement, people would just take set photos and leak it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like this era of like, and virtually everybody does this except for like apparently this new Doctor Who team and Star Trek, where they'll just like deny, like ship closed. Meanwhile, like back in 2005, the Lego game for the Star Wars prequel trilogy came out with content from episode 3 Revenge of the Sith months before the movie Revenge of the Sith came out. And I'm just like, where's that energy? We need that, honestly.
Yeah, it's like honestly fucking just the very very bare bones announcements that they made, like super bare bones announcements, and the set photos have me more interested and invested in a Doctor Who thing than anything that's happened over like the last 4 years. And it's like, yes, admittedly, they have some name pull because Russell and David and whatever. But also, you really have to ask yourself at a certain point how much of this is honestly due to the fault of the current production team, who either don't tell us anything or give us too much at once. Whereas we had a back-to-back, we had Shooty, and then the next week we had David and Catherine, and then the day after that, we got that Yasmin Finney was cast as Rose.
Yeah. I don't think this is a problem exclusive to Chibnall era production. I think it's just been like the most pronounced and like worse, because I think we can all remember, or at least I have memories of the series 10 trailer for Capaldi revealing the master thing. For like,
Yeah.
for no like, you could have just that could have been something you could have like pulled off cold turkey and it would have gone much better for you. But at least like those prior eras had like, this is gonna be mean, but like good writing and like good character acting and dynamics like behind that to be like, well, okay, this thing is shitty, but at least like we know there's quality behind it. And
this isn't revealing everything. We just know that people are coming back, and the rest of what we have is pieced together from set photos and recordings, and some of the stuff, like Rose maybe being Donna's daughter, we only have from a Reddit leak, and the fact that she appeared to shout "Mom" at Donna on the set, and it's totally possible that they just did a take where they said that to throw people off. So, like, we have pieces, but now we're theorizing, which is providing much more publicity and fan interest for the show than anything in the last 5 years.
also, like, I hate to be mean to one of our co-host sisters, but there's definitely the factor of, oh, he's hot again.
Yeah, a little bit.
Which, like,
I mean,
Jodie was hot.
honestly,
Jodie is hot too. But you know.
I mean, honestly, I'm just here because holy shit, Catherine Tate is back, and it legitimately looks like they're going to undo Journey's End. Like, actually for real, because it's set in the present day.
That would be interesting. Unlike The Last Christmas, which this episode.
Hey, all right, let's get this shit.
Which this
up.
episode is ostensibly about.
We're
professionals.
People are going to be so confused when we see that we talked about Last Christmas for this long.
Last Christmas, more like last fucks thrown away.
So, like,
all right,
ratings?
Yeah, okay, so let's move on to ratings. This episode is fucking baffling and confusing from top to bottom. I can't believe this thing got made. It was the final nail in the coffin for Christmas episodes. I struggle to find any redeeming qualities in it aside from like the one or two banger lines. Trash. D's nuts. That's my rating. D's nuts.
Yeah, this, as I said, this episode happened, and then it stopped happening. I think over the times that, over the long amount of time we've done this podcast, years and years and years, we've gotten to the point where it's like there's clear like templates for Christmas specials. There's ones where there's a narrative and like a theme woven in, and it's like really like emotional and just like great, and the Christmas holiday feels are all there. See the one with Sardik, I can't remember the name. And then there's ones where it's just like a plot happens and Christmas happens to be there too, and they try to work it through, but then everything else suffers for it. See Last Christmas, this episode, the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, and the one with the Sycorax, i.e. most of them. So like this isn't exactly like new in its badness. It's just sort of disappointing with like the potential for like what thematic like good character work could be done here. Everything is like fine. It's like competently made. It's just like feels like a waste of time. It feels drawn out. You could put this one in the background and it's serviceable, honestly, but there are much better Christmas episodes to go to. I think the A Christmas Carol and Voyage of the Damned still remain unparalleled as, you know, practically tied for the best Doctor Who Christmas specials. Yeah, it happened. What are you gonna do about it? D plus.
Forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it.
You know what would have made you know what would have made this fucking Christmas special better?
What?
Morbius.
It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time.
I think that
just interrupt the episode. Just randomly interrupt the episode halfway through. Smash cut to Matt Smith doing that weird ass fucking dance.
You know, when you think about it, Doctor Who is ideal for multiverses. And so, logically, the answer is to integrate Doctor Who into the shitty Sony Spider-Man sub-villains universe and have him, like, meet Morbius and whatever that other guy is they're doing now.
Yeah. Hire us.
It's fucking Morbin time, guys.
Yeah. I heard Matt Smith fired his agent recently, and fucking good on him. I hope the Game of Thrones spin-off goes well for him, because he needs a W.
Please give him at least one
W.
There's since leaving this.
There's the
role.
Edgar Wright film. That's a W.
Yeah, it's true. That is.
But
a W.
he needs more. Anyways, yeah, it's a D plus. D plus for Demorbius.
Morbius sweep.
All right, is it my turn? Right.
Yeah.
This episode gets a not Morbius out of 10.
We're professionals.
We should given the quality of this episode, we should have just like delayed it like 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, like later in the week, and we should have just watched Morbius. And just made the episode about Morbius and not acknowledge that we were supposed to talk about a Doctor Who Christmas special.
Okay,
just
but
be like, welcome
to
to
be
the
fair-
back to the more.
To be fair,
The more
actually watching Morbius ruins the joke, and also, I don't think any of us would enjoy actually watching Morbius.
Probably not.
Yeah.
From my understanding, it is horrible and not in an entertaining way.
Yeah. Okay, but
The Morbius sweep.
And next week on Back to the Streamers podcast, we will be watching Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
No.
It's actually a good movie. Here's my recommendation. Don't watch The Last Christmas. Watch Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the 2022 film, on a legitimate website. You'll have a much better time.
It's more bussin'.
Yes, it's more bussin'.
Instead of The Last Christmas, go out and watch Spy X Family today on your legitimate anime streaming site.
You know what? Fucking just go watch Evangelion again for the 15th time. Just do it.
That's
It's
a good
better than this.
suggestion.
Watch the 2-hour documentary on the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Go track down. I think it's on YouTube. The 1 hour. I think it's called like The Phantom Menace: The Beginning or something.
Better yet, the 1-hour documentary attached to Revenge of the Sith that is just on Mustafar, and that entire sequence. It's actually pretty dope, and you get to hear the executive producer of the prequels, Mr. Rick McCallum, say that the sequence is very dense, 5,000 times in a row, and you will have more entertainment value out of that than watching The Last Christmas, but not more entertainment value than listening to this podcast, where we completely have every idea of what we're doing because we are professional content creators.
Instead of watching Last Christmas, you should personally apologize to Jar Jar Binks actor Ahmed Best for how we all treated him, because that man deserved better.
Check your privilege, you Angloids.
All right. Let's get the fuck out of here. Okay. Next week we're talking about fucking magicians. The two-parter with Scarro and Missy and the guitar.
It's a
That's
good
what
episode.
We're talking about next week. It's a good episode. Until then, you can follow the podcast on B2 TARDIS Pod. You can support us on Patreon for a number of benefits, such as early access to episodes, the ability to listen into episodes live, and potentially even the ability to guest on an episode of your choosing. I'm Jeff. You can follow me at WheatleyDL.
I am an agender fluid clown, and you can't follow me.
So true. I'm some kind of nebulous demon. And you can morb me on Morbius.com.
And we will see you all next week.